Satnam aloha, everybody. Welcome to the live stream. And if you could put your zodiac sign, if you want to, your rising, your sun, your moon, and of course your human design. Okay, let me just share my screen. And here we go. Okay. So today's topic is about the nodal axis, right? Is switching. So this is the karmic axis, the north node of the moon and the south node of the moon. This is changing. So the north node points to our evolution, and the south node points to what we're here to transcend, right? To transcend. So just a reminder, I did a great video on why we're here on the planet. There's the slide here. So I took a clip from last week's live stream. So it's under 5 minutes. So that gives you the Coles notes, right? The bullet points of what you need to know. So just a reminder, why are you on the planet? You need to ask yourself that every single day. Well, I'm in Earth School, and I'm here to learn and evolve as a soul. I'm here to transcend the plane of duality. That's the world of opposites that we live in. Where you find one thing, you'll find its opposite, right? So where we get stuck is when we identify with the ego and the mind, and then we choose sides, right? This side, I want this side. But there's always the opposite. So we're here to transcend both. That's the eternal, right? That's the eternal. So we're here to transcend the ego, the mind, the not self, what's not you, and integrate our unconscious fears, which are our shadows. So this is what I go into when I do my these live streams, right? Every week we go into the shadow patterns that we're here to transcend. And then, of course, live as your higher self. Remember, we're entering the 2027. We're entering a whole new 400-year global cycle in 2027. And this is all about the liberation of the spirit, liberation of your spirit, to live as your true identity, right? Your higher self. And then ultimately you want to love yourself and others without any conditions, to be that conduit for your universal love. So this is what this channel is about. This is the baseline of the channel, using astrology and human design and Kundalini yoga and meditation and psychology to get you there. So, right, this is the pathway of awareness for our evolution. We're moving from the physical, right, experiencing the world only for the physical or through the mind, the physical, the mental, and the emotional. This is where all of our work is right now. And this is our emotional body, and we can go to the 0 to 7-year-old. This is what all the inner child work is. That's what my Sleeping Phoenix program's about. And then into frequency, vibration. But we need to go through the emotional first. Okay, so it can be tiring right now. Maybe you're feeling exhausted yourself, or having, problems sleeping, insomnia, things like that. You feel weary, kind of weary. Well, this is what's happening. This Aquarian age consciousness, this is our evolution coming into the new age of Aquarius. This is the other huge epoch that we're entering. This is pushing through, and it's pressuring us to what? To surrender this ego. And we don't just have one ego. We have like several ego identities that need to let go, and they're not letting go without a fight, these ego identities. So again, this is what the channel's all about, connected to these shadow patterns. Okay, so let's look at this storyline, right? So 50 to 3, that's where it's moving. So this is the gate of corruption, right? It's the shadow of corruption, the 50. You can see it comes off the spleen right there. And then we're moving into innovation and innocence. It's the shadow of chaos. So what's really interesting to me, and this is until August 26th, is Pluto has been in the shadow of limitation, right? So you see that on the bottom? That's the root chakra. And this is the sacral. So the 60 and the 3 are going to be connected from very soon, right? June 22nd. It's that was universal time, so it's probably be tomorrow, early tomorrow. in my time. And this is the channel of mutation. It's the channel of mutation. So this is great change. So this is the transit chart, right? The human design transit chart. So you may have this channel yourself, and it's going to be, I mean, if you already have it natally, it's going to be tenfold, right? You're really going to feel it. And if not, if you don't have it natally, you're going to feel it anyway. So this is about change. This is about change, and it's coming from the internal. And then the frequency gets broadcast to the external. So mutating, this is great change really, really quickly. So corruption, we're going to see more and more corruption coming out of the collective, right? We're already have been seeing it for quite a while, but we're going to see even more. And then it's connected to the 3, and this is the child. So we'll probably see more corruption around children, right? How children have been exploited on our planet. So hold steady for that. So remember that the greatest change, the only change actually, I'll say that with certainty, comes from the individual. We need to have a spiritual revolution now to transcend the shadow of corruption collectively, right? And what is it? What is corruption? Well, I looked up the definition on the dictionary. Decay, right? Corruption is about decay. It's about destruction. It's the complete opposite of creation. That's what corruption is. It's rotted, something that's rotting. And we can see that with our system, right? Our systems. Where's the other slide here? It's like the Titanic, right? So that's codependency. You can't see that, right? But it's like we have to let go of our codependency on these institutions that used to support us, that used to serve us. They're all corrupt, right? They're all corrupt. They're rotting. They're decaying. We're seeing this, right? So it's about moving our dependency on this. Well, I'll always have Social Security, or always have my retirement plan, or this or that. No, there's great change happening. It's all about self-reliance. That's the big word for the cross of the sleeping phoenix, right? It doesn't mean that you don't have supportive networks around you, like with friends and community, but not these big institutions, right? So you can see them. It's like the beast. It's like grabbing for control, right? Control and power, but it's not. It's going down like the Titanic. You can count on this that's happening. So moving into, and we're coming closer to that iceberg, which is 2027, right? So this is the new global cycle. This is like the frequency on the planet will be completely motivating humanity as a collective in a different way, and it won't be about this, right? These institutions won't be supported anymore by this new consciousness. So it's about jumping off and becoming self-sovereign, self-reliance. And this means taking your authority away from external authority, which are these institutions, and back to the self, right? Back to the higher self, right? This is your authentic self. This is big G. So you're moving from little g to big G. So the other thing to know here is we'll just talk about the zodiac quickly, right? Because you're like, this doesn't make sense. It doesn't turn until July 17th, right? Did I put my mandala here? Okay, just a sec. I got to get my mandala out. Okay, there we go. Okay, so from January 22nd last year until July 16th, it was in Taurus and Scorpio, right? And then July 17th till January 11th, 2025, it's going to move from Libra to Aries. And you're like, okay, well what's you in these numbers, right? So there's the mandala, and the mandala moves clockwise, right? Moves clockwise. And so you can see here, right? We've got Taurus. That's 27. We've been in 27. And then it moves to 3. So it's moving into the 3 very, very soon. Do you see that? But do you see like the degrees, it's like a cusp. So it's like a little cusp, right? It's this number sits between Taurus and Aries, so it has both qualities, but it's more in Taurus now. And then when it moves into 42, it's going to be fully into Aries, the Aries Libra thing. So that's how that works, right? But I'll do another video when it changes signs. Okay. So what have you been working on? Well, the old nodes were 28. That's the south node. What we're leaving behind, what we're transcending, and then moving into the 27. That's the north node. So that was going on, right? The Scorpio Taurus since January 22nd, and this nodal configuration, the 27-28, was since February 2023. So we were called to build, right? Taurus, build, focus on building, focus on our values, what's true to me, authentically true to me, not what the consensus is, what the values of the consensus. It was like, what's my personal values? What can I build? What can I create? What can I simplify? Taurus is about simplifying. Basically, what's important to me in this building. So this is like an energetic building too, right? You maybe have been energetically building your own character and leaving behind the shadow of Scorpio, which is all about destruction. So not looking at the destruction, right? Not looking at that Titanic going down, trying to save it, wasting all your energy. That was a total waste of energy. It was more moving towards simplicity, right? Taurus is very simple, the earth, right? Putting everything on a firm foundation, right, of Taurus, and right, leaving behind this shadow all about destruction, right? So this is the 27, was about nurturing and caring. So nurturing and caring, what gives you nurturance, like focusing on things like that. What nurtures me? What nurtures my soul? How can I be more caring to myself? How can I be more caring to my family and community? That's the 27, right? It's heart-based. Scorpio, this was the shadow, right? So we were transcending shadow. That's the 28, right? It's all about shadow, and transcending it. So do you see, we don't leave it behind, right? We integrate it and then we move, we ascend up, right? This way. So then July 17th, this is huge, right? Until January 11th, 2025. And this is moving at a codependency. Libra, the shadow of Libra is codependency. So leaving the right, collectively leaving this. Leaving anything or anyone you're codependent on, that's not going to be supported. Right? Dealing with this, so it's about integrating the shadow. And then moving into pioneer, the pioneer energy, Aries. Okay, so I know what I've been focusing here, right? With Taurus, I've been focusing on what I create and what I want to build, what gives me the firm foundation, what I need, what my community and friends need. And now it's letting go of more codependency in relationships and just I'm going for it. Even if nobody's around me, maybe I'm a community of one for a while, right? But the pioneer spirit, now I'm going for it. Now I'm taking action. That's Aries. I'm taking action. So that's a very exciting to look at. So let's look at this timeline shift here. So June 23rd to August 26th, right? So let's look at the shadow of corruption that we're letting go of, and then we're moving into innovation, innocence. This is moving from the 50 to the 3. So what are we doing? We're not focusing on the crumbling, corrupt institutions, right? We're watching without attachment. They're crumbling, they're dying. You can't stop it. You can't stop this evolutionary process. It's part of our evolution so that we can rebuild something new that's real, that has value, that's rooted in truth. These old institutions, sure, they were rooted in truth at one time, but they're not. They became corrupt. It's like the play, of consciousness. So creation, sustainment, corruption, decay, right? It's God. The acronym for God is generating, organizing, destroying. It's just part of the play. So we're seeing the destruction part. So you don't want to be focusing on the destruction part collectively, right? Stop trying to like resuscitate. It's dying. It's dying. A person is dying. You can't bring them back. You can't bring them back. It's destiny. It's destiny that these institutions have to fall. And nobody, no matter how much money you have or how power you have, you can't save this, right? It's destiny. So you don't want to focus on ego, right? You don't want to focus on the ego with corruption, because corruption is really the ego. It's the ego within ourself, right? The ego. Or focus out on the chaos, like giving your power over to the chaos that we're going to see, right? Because the destruction brings chaos, and chaos always precedes something new. There's something, look back on your life, whenever something new happens, there's always chaos. It's like, right? It's like, but you want to keep your center, right? It's like that hurricane, right? You want to be in the center of the storm and your being, right? And then watch all this stuff happening. It's just part of the process. It's part of the birthing process, the chaos. So you don't want to be interpreting, right? So that means not listening to the ego that's going to interpret. And the interpretation is all about fear. And give your power away, give your power away, give your power away. And the negative forces on the planet, part of our duality, they're counting on that people will be reactive to the fear. Okay. I just want to check, because I didn't check if my sound is on. Let me see here. I just thought of that. Okay. Yeah. Okay, great. Sounds like everybody can hear me, eh? Okay. Okay, where was I? Okay, so this is the shadow. This is the shadow here. And let me see here. So this is the shadow of corruption. So let's go into the specifics of the shadow of corruption. And okay, I got that. Great. Okay. So how do you know you're in your shadow? Where these are the qualities. So there's the ego, the not self, that's whispering in your head, right? You believe it's you. This is corruption right here. It's made up of corruption. It's made up of shadow. It's made up of fear. It's made up of insecurity. And we believe that it's us, this ego. So feeling overwhelmed by corrupt systems. You know, it's too big, I'm too little, I can't change it. And that's very true. The only way you're going to be able to change the world is change yourself, right? Change yourself. So not get into that state and listening to that ego. Well, it's just how the world is, just how it is. You know, we just have to do your job. We have no other choice. That's giving up. This is giving into this shadow of corruption, which means compromising my values. Compromising my values. What I know is true and correct in my heart, but I go against that because I'm in fear, right? I'm fearing the chaos and the disorder that I'm going to see out in the world, right? Needing control. And this is the thing. It's like uncertainty. That's the only thing that's certain and that's on this planet is uncertainty. The only thing that we can count on is change, and this precedes change, chaos and disorder. But it's not forever, right? It's just a part of the process, the birthing process. So not compromising, right? When you're in your shadow, this ego will talk you into compromising your value. Well, I there's things that I do for a living, and I know I don't really believe in what they're doing. I know they're exploiting, right? I know they're exploiting people. But, I need a paycheck. I need to pay my rent. That's like an example of that. Well, I'm buying these sneakers, and I heard that they've got like this child slavery factory over in China or whatever, but I need my brand new sneakers, you know? This is how compromise works on the individual level. So it's just becoming more, and it's going to come to the surface. Like all this information is not going to be hidden from us anymore. We can't put our head in the sand. We're going to see it. And then it's like, we're in a spiritual test. Are we going to follow our values and what we know is true in our heart? Or are we going to compromise? Because it will be uncomfortable for me, right? It will be uncomfortable for me. I might get uncomfortable, or people may judge me, or I won't have that paycheck. I don't know how the money's going to come in. This is the corruption, right? And it starts from it's not just the top bottom, it's like in the bottom too, individually, right? So we have to dig it out on an individual level, this corruption. We all have it, right? We all have all these shadow patterns. You don't trust life, right? Don't trust the divine in the shadow of corruption. So it's like, okay, I know in my heart, like my heart and my soul are telling me that goes so against who I am, right? And why do I choose corruption? Because I don't trust life. I don't trust that the divine life will take care of me, right? If I stand up for truth, and it definitely will. But it's your test. It's not going to be a guarantee. If you do this, the divine signs a contract with you. Well, if you do this and stand up for truth in this situation, then I'll give you a paycheck. It doesn't work like that. You have to take the risk. It's the faith. You have to show that faith, right, to transcend the shadow of corruption. And not chasing money and power. Because with chaos and disorder, what do you want? I want security. I want to know that I'm going to be secure, right? I want to feel secure in my life. And this is what the ego says. Well, you got to chase the money, the dollar, and you got to chase power. And you have to chase power. And this is how it works. And I just saw that BlackRock guy. I don't know if you've seen that, if you follow James O'Keefe, because he's playing his role of unearthing all this corruption. And how they say they work with this. And it was really interesting to hear him talk about it. They accumulate, right? Assets, right? So all their money is continually flowing, right? And it's accumulating more and more assets and more power. And then they start buying people, right? All the politicians, and they buy them. And the people can be sold fairly cheap, right? So this is how corruption works. It's this constant flow, and it's not going to stop because it's rooted with destruction, right? It's got a destructive energy to it. Right? So, where was I going with that? It's just this need, this compulsion, right? It's duality. Again, we got to go to duality. We need this. We need the planes of duality because we're learning discernment right now. And remember the new moon? I just did that video on the new moon. The gift is discernment, discerning. Right? Discerning the frequency of energy, knowing what if I choose corruption every single day, like little things in my life where I compromise my values, well, every time I make that choice, I'm stepping farther away from the divine, farther and farther away from the divine. When I start making choices, this is discernment, towards the light, and it doesn't come from the mind, it's not moral, it's not about morality, it's about what's coming from inside your heart, what you know is true. We all know what's true. When we start making those baby steps towards there, then we're moving closer and closer to the divine. And this is our true power, right? Weakness, remember my Saturn in retrograde? Weakness is when we're leaning on this ego. It makes us weak when we choose corruption, even though the ego, no, look at all the power people have that have money. They don't have any power. They too are in fear, right? Money is about fear. So it's the plane of duality again. It's like I have money, and then the duality is I'm afraid I'm going to lose it. I don't have money, right? I'm afraid that it's not going to come in. It's the same fear. It's the same fear. So don't listen to this that I need money. I need to accumulate money so that I can feel safe. Anything on the external it comes and goes. It's not going to give you true security. True security is to be with your soul. So fearing the chaos and the disorder that this brings when you start choosing the divine, because when you start choosing the divine, what you're doing is that sleeping giant inside you starts to awaken, right? And that's your higher self. And it creates chaos in your life because everything's got to be recorrected. Everything that's not in truth has to go. Friends have to go. Job has to go. Place of living has to go because that sleeping giant is awakened. And that's who you really are, your true self, right? So it's just about watching without interpretation as things recorrect themselves, come back into integrity. So the belief here with this shadow is I got to compete, I got to hustle and hassle for my survival. And then I compare myself with hierarchy. This is what's crumbling too, this whole notion of hierarchy. The pyramid, right? Top, bottom, that's all crumbling too. Right? So that's the shadow of corruption. So we'll go into your individual chart and we'll see how this can play out in your life, right? So you got till August 26th for this one. So where do we want to go to? Well, innovation and innocence. Innovation and innocence. And this is the 3, the North Node, right? In the 3. And it's very connected to that channel of mutation. So it's going to be bring great change. So you want to be like a child again, laughing, playful, exploring, and experimenting. Remember when you were a child and you would play and you would invent. This is innovation too. You would invent, you'd imagine. There's no fear there of being judged or fear that you're going to get it wrong, right? You're making discoveries, you're experimenting, you're an adventurer. You want to trust 100% in the unity of all things, because chaos and disorder can make us feel like we're separate. I got to take care of myself. As soon as you're with your ego, you're in separation. And then you're completely, this is your God, your ego is your God. But when you're in the gift, you're 100% knowing in the unity of all things, trusting. I don't know how it all fits together, but I'm just trusting my process, that I'm being birthed. Right? Each one of us is being birthed now. And that you see chaos as difficulty at the beginning. So this is even the mind. There's your environment could be chaotic, but also you can have the chaotic mind because the mind's freaking out because it's losing control. The ego is freaking out, it's losing control. And it can be like insane thoughts of fear can come up. But you're just seeing this as, this is just my process. This is just the process. And it's going to come and it's going to go, right? It's going to pass. This too shall pass. Knowing that this is part of the process of your rebirth, right? The sleeping phoenix coming in 2027. Each one of us is the phoenix. We're rising from the ashes. And the burning and everything is the chaos, right? And it can get very, very scary for people if they're not connected to their spiritual nature, right? Okay, and what else did I want to say here? So we'll just look at so how do I get from, let's do the shadow work just quickly. Well, you go inside, right? Inside you, the center of your being. This is why sadhana practice is great, meditation, some kind of sadhana practice where you're in relationship with this ego, right? So you spot it. You're able to witness your thoughts, right? When you're in your center of your being, I can witness, I see my thoughts, right? I'm not attached and identified with those thoughts. I'm not lost in the thoughts. I'm not lost with the ego. I'm not unconscious. That's what it means to be unconscious. So you spot it. My ego's coming up with all these preemptive things that I should do, right? And it's all based on survival. Right? No trust in the divine at all. You spot it. You don't identify it. It's like, I see those thoughts. I can hear those thoughts. Well, with that comes these surfacing emotions, which are going to be baseline fear. Like fear will come up. So you just feel the fear. You don't identify with the thoughts. And then this ego identity starts to dissolve, right? One of these, right, will start to dissolve and down goes that pillar. right? Down goes one of the pillars. And then you expand, right? And then you expand into your higher self. This is naturally, you don't have to try to do that. That's just what happens when the ego identity starts to dissolve. You immediately expand into who you really are. And this is being peaceful and happy for no reason, filled with life, right? Life force energy, right? You don't need something out here, because this is what the ego promises out here. Say you want security, right? The ego is going to say, well, you need to earn this much money, right? Maybe at a job that you hate, but I'm just going to get the check, and then I can put a down payment, and I can buy a condo or a tiny house or something like that. That's the ego's version of this, which will never work, because once you get it, then you fear that you're going to lose it or you're onto something else. That's the ego. But you're being peaceful and happy, secure. I already feel secure inside. I'm trusting, right? I'm trusting. I'm having faith. So that's the shadow work. And remember that it's draining your energy when you're identified with this ego. Keeps you out of your power, right? Keeps you distracted on the external world, like all this craziness is happening on the external world, all this chaos. It's interpreting what you see. That's what the ego, and you're believing it, right? And it's based in fear. You're not seeing clearly. You're not seeing neutrally. And you're busy chasing its projections for happiness and peace, like the example I used with security and, right, chasing a job for the down payment, for the money. And that's fueled by emotions. Okay? So that's what we're dealing with now. So times of great change are coming ahead. And let me see some comments, and then we'll get to the astrology. Okay. Peg Satnam, Jennifer. Okay. Leah doesn't know her astrology sign. Well, you're one of the few. You must know your sun sign. Jennifer's Aquarius North Node. Okay, see the... Yeah. So that's true. Some people, I'm feeling that too, living on a whole new timeline. Yeah. That's when you wake up and everything just seems different. Like you yourself can seem like, oh, I feel like I'm so different, or I'm approaching these so-called problems in my life in a new way. That's the growth and evolution, right? Okay. Yeah. Let me see. Well, the manifestors and the manifesting generators, they've got to deal with anger. That's, he has a lot of will. He's got every gate defined off the will center. Yeah, he's strong-willed. For sure. Tell him he's got to initiate something, right? Get him to initiate something. It could be really, really small around the house. Get him to say it out loud and tell it to you. That will help ease the pressure. The manifestor has to take action. Jeanette. M. Baines, this really resonates to my Aries ascendant. Yeah, because we're talking about money. You got your second house is ruled by Taurus. We'll get into that. Abigail. 2 degrees. Oh, you're early Taurus. 2 degrees Sun, 3 degrees. Cancer, rising Libra moon. And super galactic center. Right on. Yeah, don't be counting on the government. Don't be counting on the government right now, little g. It's a trap. It's a soul trap. Okay. Sinbad, lone wolf, sitting in my car alone, due to not Bowing down. Yeah, it's about trusting Sinbad, trusting in the divine, right? Sometimes we've got to, especially money, right? Sometimes we have to manifest this, and it's actually a gift from the divine to root out this identity, right? Because if you got money in your pocket, you can talk till the cows come home of like, I've got faith in God and the divine. You've got these nice, sweet sounding words, right? But as soon as that money's out of your pocket and you don't know where it's coming from, then this ego comes rushing forward. And it's like, oh, here it is, right? Otherwise, it wouldn't come forward. It's like the divine is like taking this poison, like it's corrupt, right? The ego is corrupt, bringing out this corruption in you. And often we have to manifest these life experiences so that we can see it. Otherwise, we can't see it, right? So Sinbad, see that as a gift and have trust and hold steady. Hold steady. Yeah. Don't worry about other people, right? Like so many people are in fear and separated. Everyone's making their choices now. Look at the internet. There's spiritual teachings everywhere, right? About what's going on in the world right now. And if they're open, if they ask you, sure, of course, if you feel called to help them, yes. But this is also a distraction of the ego, right? Pointing you to other people. Look at them, pour them, right? Or look at those corrupt people over there. It's like bring your focus back to yourself. That's the best thing to do because you can't help anything or anyone unless you know who you are. This is about having a deep experience of who you are now. It's the realization of the self, right? This is why we're here. Okay? Yeah, right on. Okay, so let's get into the, and also my prosperity in the chart webinars coming up, right? So it's for spiritual people. That's the theme. It's not for your regular Joe people. It's for spiritual people, not just people that are interested in astrology and human design. You have to have the spiritual foundation, right? Because we're going to be talking about blocks. There's particular blocks for people who are on the spiritual path right now because this is not our first rodeo. We've spent many past lives in religious order and other spiritual communities. And then one of the biggest blocks are these vows of poverty that we've taken in these belief systems that go really, really deep in the unconscious of money in the material world. So letting that go, working with the unconscious mind, right? And then looking at the human design astrology chart because we have our own unique relationship to prosperity according to our destiny. And it's not one size fits all, right? It's about your unique relationship to that. And as soon as I learned mine, it was like, oh yeah, I've always been like this. And I just relaxed into it, you know? And then going into self-value and self-worth block. So it's not just information, right? It's going to be an experience. It's going to be an experience. And of course I go, because I'm North Node Cancer, right? I'm all about in 6-line emotional intelligence that I'm all about the emotions in this lifetime. Okay, so that's on my website. If you want to check that out, I'll put the link below. Okay, so let's go I want to go for Taurus first. Here. Okay, there we go. There's Taurus. So Taurus, Sun, Moon, or Rising. You've got the shadow of corruption is in your 7th house. So it's been in there for a while. Not the corruption part, but the dealing with the shadow and other people, right? So what you have to watch is letting go of projection on you by others, right? So others projecting their stuff onto you and giving your power away to others, like believing the opinion of others of you, right? So the thing with projection, because we can project, but we can also be projected upon, right? Being projected upon. With that is really to see it neutrally, and you've got to do your shadow work to get to this place, right? Because most people, they get into an interaction if somebody's projecting their shadow onto you, you project their shadow onto you, and then it's all this confusion and glamoring, and you can't see at all. So when you start doing your shadow work and you're in a neutral place, you're able to see, oh, that person's projecting their shadow onto me. It's more about them, right, than me. But it takes time, right, to do this, and you have to do your shadow work to be neutral. Otherwise, just take it in what they're saying, right? Be in your center, and is there a message there for me? Right? Is the divine speaking through that person for me, or is it complete bullshit being thrust upon me because they don't want to take responsibility for their fears, right? So for you is to look away from that, the corruption, because people are showing themselves now. So also keep that in mind. The masks are coming off. This is the age of truth, right? So this is relationship stuff, and it's like you don't want to cling to other people, right, during this time, and not look through, here's what it is. Don't look at yourself through other people's eyes. This is a big one for me when I had this insight, and I look at my life because it's been so, colorful. That's a nice word for it. On the spiritual journey. It's not a normal life. It's not like a so-called normal life. That when I look through other people's eyes at my life and me, I would get caught up. This is the ego. I get caught up in oh, I'm not, I should be afraid of this. I should be afraid of that. And I look like I'm a big loser, and I don't have it together. And you know what the ego goes into. But then when I would turn it back, because right there, where am I? I'm external to myself, looking at myself externally. But when I went inside and looked through my own eyes, then I saw a completely different picture of myself. Have courage. I have courage and conviction and commitment to my path. You see yourself in a whole other light that's more truthful, right? That's more truthful. So keep that in mind, Taurus. Don't get locked into the opinions of other people that are corrupt, right? So corruption, it's not in truth, right? It's not in truth. So people will be showing you that until August 26. So what do you want to do is the 3 is in the first house, right? So the innocence, being more in it, like claiming your innocence. This is claiming your purity, which is your soul, right? This is a great way to deal with the corruption. And then it doesn't get in. Well, I'm innocent. You're accusing me of doing that, or you're accusing me of dominating you or offending you. That's a big word right now. I'm offended by you and what you said. You just keep claiming your innocence. It's like, no, I was innocent when I said that. It was just coming from my innocence. It's this discernment. This is the other person's stuff, and this is my stuff. I'm not guilty, because people like to project, Taurus. They want to project their guilt on other people. They want to project their shame on other people. They want to project because they don't want to take accountability. That's what we're missing on this planet, is accountability and responsibility for your own consciousness. Very few people on the planet are able to do that, right? So you do that, right, for yourself. And that's claiming the innocence of your spirit, right? The innocence of your spirit. And not to get trapped, right? These are soul traps. These shadow patterns are soul traps. And it's letting go of corrupt people in your life, right? Corrupt people in your life that are not aligned with their values, And it's also about it's about how you show up. So what do you want to show up as, Taurus? Let's look at here. Right here. Right? Laughing, playful, not so serious, exploring, experimenting. The ego, Taurus, the ego hates this. Laughter and fun and joy, because it can't live in that space. It wants everybody miserable. Watch this. The people that are really identified with their ego, they don't want laughter. They don't want joy. They want misery. They want everybody negative and down, and right. Misery loves company. Right. This is you elevating yourself up out of the shadow of corruption. You want to trust in the unity of all things. So first house, you're the Taurus, you're the embodiment of this, right? I'm the role model for this. Playful trust, right? Playful courage. And seeing chaos, not getting trapped in the chaos, other people, your relationships, because it's the other, 7th house, maybe doing all this. You don't judge it. You just stay within yourself, right? In this innocence. And knowing that, though, this is just part of the process, right? And the people that are meant to be in your life, they'll be drawn to that. Like, wow, I really like your attitude. You're so trusting, because they're going to feel the vibration of truth within you. This is you, right? First house. Okay. You want to be the child of the divine, right? The divine child. That's what it is with the first house there. So that's Taurus. Anything else for Taurus? Yeah. It's a lot, like I see, because you got Saturn in the 11th house, retrograde. A lot about your relationships, right? Lots of stuff around your relationships right now. Musical chairs, right? Some people are leaving, others are coming in. Okay. But don't get caught up in other people's drama. That's my message for you. Okay. So let's go for Gemini, Sun, Moon, or Rising here. And the the corruption is in your 6th house. In the 6th house. So this could be corruption around work or your health too. So corrupt energy, you could see that as disease or some kind of illness, some kind of health problem that you've been going through, Gemini. That's maybe some corrupt energy frequency that's not aligned with you and your true self is moving. And also your workplace, Gemini, may be corrupt. Maybe you're going to start to see corruption in your workplace. Dishonesty and lies. So don't listen to this ego. Can't beat him, join him. And well, everybody else is doing it, so why not me? Right? You don't want to listen to all of this. Right? Remember that we don't escape. Right? There's all this fear about, oh, we're going to be under surveillance 24/7 with the digital technocracy, right? And all that. That's coming from our unconscious of humanity, because we are under 24/7 surveillance. Spiritually, we are. The Akashic records, right? The subconscious mind is recording everything that you do, everything that you think, every behavior, right? Every act, right? Everything you're doing is recorded. It's there, right? It's there. So don't buy into this. Well, nobody knows, right? Who's going to know, right? That ego. Oh, just do it. It's like, no. Your spirit will know. Your soul will know. And at the end of the day, you'll be judging yourself, and that subconscious mind will haunt you. It won't let you forget. When you've betrayed your soul, it will not let you forget. So also you want to make sure that you're in alignment with the work you're doing. Like really dig this out. How do I feel going into this workplace, right? Every day, or how many days you work, right? Because you want to let go of this, because it will affect your health, right? In the 6th house. And then, so corruption in the workplace, corruption with your health. Corruption with your health too could be knowing that, oh, these foods are not good for me, right? But I'm going to eat them anyway. And then it affects your health. That's corruption. That's an example of corruption too, where the food is actually corrupt, right? So where you want to go is into the 12th house. And this is really relying on the divine, right? In terms of your work and what you're here to do. I'm going to okay, my workplace is completely corrupt. I feel so like dirty when I get home. I've got to shower and get all this energy out of my aura, right? I'm just around all these corrupt people that are completely ruled by their ego. Well, I'm gonna listen to my intuition. I'm gonna quit. I'm gonna quit, and I'm gonna trust in the divine. I'm gonna relax, and I'm gonna trust in the divine. I'm gonna let the divine do the heavy lifting for me, right? Right. So it could be something like, because it's 12th house, right? It's very spiritual. Maybe you're getting the guidance to start up a retreat center, right? Or a meditation monthly session for people, right? Because it's the 12th house. Something innovative, but it's going to come from your innocence. I'm a child of God, Gemini, right? I'm going to trust. God does not want me in this workplace, in this corruption. And no, it's not my job to change it. My job is to be myself and to love myself, right? And to follow my destiny. So you want to move over here. Complete trust, right? In the unity of all things. And yes, there could be chaos. At the beginning, there's always chaos at the beginning when you're being birthed, right? So it's about not compromising your values. Not saying yes when you mean no in the workplace, right? Staying true to your values, right? In this chaotic disorder is just part of the rebirthing process. So that's what it's saying, Gemini, is you need to relax and you need to give some of this stuff over to it's the house of problems too. Give that over to the divine, right? Starting something new. Because people are going to start seeking their spirituality more and more, because this Titanic that's going down, that's going to be a shocker for people that have put all their trust and their faith in little g. They've worshipped little g all their life. Little g is going to take care of me, take care of everything. They promised me, right? They promised me that. Well, it's going to be a big shock when it starts tipping over and sinking down. It's interesting, too, with that submarine, and the Titanic. That happened this week. That's a significator. Got lost. Okay. Yeah. So retreat. That's what I'm saying, too. For Gemini's, retreat. Be on your own and listen. And listen to your higher self for the guidance. Your guidance. Okay. That's for Gemini. So let's go for Cancer. Cancer, Sun, Moon, or Rising. So this is happening in your 5th house, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. So the shadow of corruption, your nodal axis story line is changing. So you're letting go of the shadow of corruption. You're transcending the shadow of corruption in your 5th house. And then you're moving into the gift of innovation and innocence into your 11th house, So this is letting go of corruption in the way that you express yourself, So it's a little bit different than the 3rd house. It's more, the 3rd house more about your thinking. It's the ego too, right? That's the ego's house. So letting go, Cancer, of listening to the ego, of believing the ego, being in love with your ego. Ego can be like, tell you sweet, nice things about yourself too, right? It's very manipulative and deceptive. Remember, it's the inflated, right? It can be the inflated version of the ego or the deflated version of the ego, telling you that you're dirt and you're no good, or telling you the greatest thing since sliced bread, right? But it's the same ego, right? It's just about manipulating you and you giving it your power over, right? So it's about your corrupt ego. What's the ego telling you about your children, if you have children, or your creativity, about your happiness, what gives you happiness, what gives you joy. Again, it could be like bad habits, right? That you're ready to let go of, right? Ego is about addiction too. I'm going to let go of this thing that gives me comfort, right? I'm eating maybe macaroni and cheese and I feel like crap the next day, but it's all I know. This is what gives me enjoyment because it has for years and years. And now your soul is like, it's corrupt. This food is corrupt. It's corrupting your body. It's corrupting your system. You're gluten intolerant. It's just too much, right? Everything's changing. And so as soon as you let that go, the shadow of corruption, then innovation and innocence can come in, like new guidance. This is what's really joyful for me, right? Is to be myself. I don't need something outside of me, right? To give me joy. And really it's not joy, it's about trying to control your emotions, right? Especially with food. So letting the new come in, right? So embracing the innocence, which is to be out with your friends, right? Cancer, to be out with your friends, not here with the ego, you and the ego, because Cancer loves their homes, right? Not to be at home with the ego, listening to that ego. Oh, I'm in love with my ego, right? I don't like to go out with friends because you've had Pluto in the 7th house, right? And it's back there until January. So you've had to deal with Plutonian kind of people and very shadowy, right? Shadowy people. You could be a bit gun shy, right? But the new story is saying no, go. You're going to meet new friends, right? You're going to be playful. You're going to be laughing. These are the people you want to be around that are lighthearted, right? That are laughing. They're playful. Right? They're trusting. They've got faith in the divine. So don't be afraid, right? Because this is what the ego will say. Well, you know what happened last time with your friends, right? Some drama or crisis happens and, right? Don't do it again. Don't do it again. This is what's going to happen, right? Stay at home, right? Stay at home with me. And I'll tell you what makes you joyful. Isolate with me. Isolate with me. And it can make you very selfish, Cancer, right? Because as soon as you're with your ego, you're in your trip. Shadow loves the darkness, right? Shadow loves the darkness. You want to come out into the light. Okay. So it's all about, that's what I see. There's all these creative friends that are waiting for you that are lighthearted and playful. And it's part of your rebirth right now. So to move away from this 5th house of corruption. Something's getting corrupted here in your 5th house. Okay. That's what I got for Cancer. Let me see here. Okay. Okay. Anything else for Cancer? Yeah, and you've got Saturn retrograde in your 9th house, so it's about widening your view of the world, right? That you're going through right now, too. Yeah. Okay, so work on that. Let go of this shadow of corruption around creativity and home and what I enjoy and my pleasures. Well, they're probably corrupting you, right? Okay. And corrupting means that you're out of integrity, but you're disconnected from your intuition, right? Corruption does that too. Okay. So where are we now? Leo. Leo, sun, moon, or rising for the shadow of corruption is in the 4th house. Speaking of home. So it's home, but it's also your emotional body, right? So there could be some corruption, attachment to your emotions, too much identification with your emotions. So how we do that, we need to remember that we're not our emotions. We're not our emotions. Our emotions move through us, our being. But what happens is we identify with them. And you can do this by I'm angry, or I'm sad, or I'm depressed. And that's corrupt. That's corrupt because you've got these emotions that are moving. The emotions aren't corrupt. The emotions are just moving through your body, right? To be integrated. Because we're going through the pathway of awareness, right? Physical, mental, emotional. So that means feeling them, right? So they're not corrupt. They're not corrupt. The corruption comes when this ego is identified with this, right? I'm angry. Right? I'm sad, I'm depressed. And it doesn't allow them to move because the ego's grabbed onto that emotion. And then it's going to create a story about it, right? And remember that the anger is just a frequency we're purifying through the emotional body. So the anger is just surfacing, right? It's just surfacing to be felt and integrated and then let go. Right? And you expand more and more when you do that work. Well, there's the ego. It's like interfering with that grabbing onto the emotion. I'm angry and this is why. And it's always a story, some story. That may or may not, it's not true, right? You're just feeling the anger, right? And if it can't come up with, it will come up with something in the head. Well, this person is saying this about you. It will come up with lies, right? And manipulation. And it's to keep you from doing this emotional work and growing. You could be attached. This is what to let go of with the shadow of corruption. Going back to your childhood. Going back to what you didn't get as a child, right? So it could be like I didn't get that mother that I wanted. I didn't get that mothering that I wanted and needed. I didn't get that nurturing, right? It's about your family, right? That was corrupt. Let's see it, right? There's corruption in your family, but you're letting that go because it's keeping you from growing and evolving, right? Or if you're a mother yourself, you could be attached and identify with the role of mother. That's also limiting yourself. You're attached to your family conditioning. You know, well, you see this with people, I'm a survivor of whatever, right? You want to let this go. This is corrupting you, this corruption, right? You're moving into, you're claiming your innocence back for Leo, right? And the corruption too, let's bring it back because the fourth house wants emotional security. I want to feel emotionally secure. I want to feel peaceful and I want to feel happy. And then look at this, right? Why we're here, right? It's feeling happy and peaceful for no reason. Why we're on the planet, right? Feeling happy and peaceful for no reason. We're not going to find it externally. We're not going to find it with another person, right? That's going to nurture us and make us feel emotionally secure. That's going to come from within, right? Within us. So to let that go, all your family conditioning, fourth house, and then move into the north node, which is your career with Leo. It's about career. So it's about taking your place, right? But you're not taking your place from a Capricornian kind of way with this karmic axis, right? It's you're like a child again. It's innocent. I'm experimenting. I'm just being myself. Does this mean like you're childish? No, there's no such thing as adults, on the planet. There's children in adult bodies. We're all children. We're divine children, right? All of us. So you want to be trusting this 100%, being innovative with your work, right? It's claiming that innocence. And maybe you got chaos happening in your workplace. There's chaos happening. Well, you don't want to be running back to the fourth house. Well, I need something to feel emotionally secure, right? All these emotions are coming up. Well, that's the chaos and the disorder is coming up. And that can be coming through emotions. All these emotions are releasing in me, right? There's chaos, there's disorder, and my mind's going crazy, and I can't do this. I've got to go back in my shell in the fourth house. I got to stay in my house. I got to get emotionally secure first. before I step into this, my 10th house, which is my vocation, how other people see me, my social standing. It's taking your destiny, your soul purpose. Here I am, I'm showing up, right? And yes, it's shaky right now, right? It's shaky right now, but this is just part of the process, and it's going to come and go. My job is just to feel, right? Just to feel it, you know? Yeah. And know that the chaos precedes every new beginning, right? So it sounds like you're going through a new beginning, Leo, in the 10th house. But lots of changes, and it's going to be around your home, right? Around your home, around your internal self. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And looking at ways, the other thing I want to add too is looking at ways that you emotionally nurture yourself, which I talked a little bit about with Cancer, that there can be some corruption around that. Like, how do I emotionally soothe myself? Well, like I learned from my mother, because it's fourth house, to eat sugar. That's what you do to comfort yourself, or you deny all your emotions. You don't talk about it. You're not open. You're not vulnerable. That's corrupt. You're letting all that corrupt stuff leave. But you're moving towards 10th house, my career, focusing on my career, you know? Okay, not letting this emotional corruption stop you. Okay. That's Leo. Is that it for Leo? Okay. Let's go for Virgo, Sun, Moon, or Rising. 1, 2, 3. So you've got the shadow. Virgo, Sun, Moon, or Rising's got the shadow of corruption, leaving behind. I'm transcending it in the third house. And then I'm moving into innovation, innocence, archetype, into the ninth house. So this is about your thinking, right? This is saying you got some corruption around your thinking. You're not thinking straight. And this is the thinker. The ego is the thinker, right? So you're identifying with these corrupt thoughts that aren't true. They're not true in your head. Completely identified with the mind because it's the third house. So letting that go. This is channeling. The ego is like whispering something in my ear, and like Cyrano de Bergerac, and I'm just channeling. I'm just like, right? I'm channeling that ego. So out comes a lot of negativity, and that's corrupt, right? You need to remember, Virgo, that we create with our words. We create with our words. Our words have a lot of power, right? So what you want to do is you want to dig this out. Who's talking? Who's talking in my head? Oh, it's this ego. It's talking in my head, especially if it's super negative. How does it feel? I feel contracted. I feel cluttered inside, like I got too much furniture in my room. You know, that's the ego, right? I'm channeling the ego, and it's corrupt. The energy's corrupt. It's in fear. I'm spreading fear with my words, right? In my communication. And people will react to that, right? They'll react to that fear, especially if there's a lot of fear coming through. People are going to react to that. I noticed that with dogs. With dogs, if there's a dog that's really nervous and in fear, the rest of the dogs kind of attack it, right? It's like they're telling it like, calm down, like what's going on, right? We don't like this energy that you're emanating. So to watch that, your thinking and your communication, just taking a moment to, like, before you speak, okay, where am I speaking from my heart, or am I speaking from that ego right now? Where you're going to just create more corruption, more of that corrupt energy. The other thing with Virgo, with corruption, is not saying what you're really feeling. You're people pleasing, right? I'm just going to tell that person what they want to hear. It's a form of hiding, right? This is corrupt. Oh, I'm agreeing with that person, but I don't really agree with them. That's corruption. You want to be digging out all of this because it's draining your energy, right? It's draining your energy. Compromising your values. Make honesty your value. I want to be honest in my speech, right? It doesn't need to be hurtful. That's the lie that we believe. Well, to be truthful is to be hurtful. It's to speak your truth. Not like, I don't like your dress, I don't like your hair or whatever. It's like a deeper truth. I'm going to express this deeper truth, So where you're moving into with innovation is into the ninth house, right? Into the ninth house. This is being a child again. This is expanding your awareness. It's expanding your point of view. The ninth house. It's new stories, right? So here we have the shadow of corruption, listening to that ego, all the negative stories. I can't do that. This will go wrong. This will go wrong. This will go wrong. Channeling the ego. Well, then you move into the ninth house with innocence. Oh, I'm going to try that. You're not listening to the ego. Remember, the ego can't live in this space. It can't live in this frequency, right? This is the love frequency, right? So you're like a child again with your worldview, with your storyline. Well, I'm going to be innocent. I'm going to be laughing, playful. I'm going to explore. I'm going to experiment. I'm going to try this. I'm going to try that. And if I don't like it, it's not a failure. It's just a discovery. I don't like this, but I really like this, right? So this is trust 100% in the unity of all things, because your worldview could be a lot of chaos happening at the beginning, right? Chaos as you're being rebirthed into this new expanded awareness. This is downloads too, Virgo, like receiving downloads. It's very intuitive house, the ninth house. And not compromising yourself, right? Not compromising yourself with your words and the way that you communicate and your thinking. You want to be more optimistic. Innovation and innocence is more optimistic. And you'll be pleasantly surprised, right? With the 3 in the ninth house of what you discover about you and your relationship to the world. New ways of seeing the world. Okay, anything else for Virgo? No, that's it. Okay. So let's go for Libra, Sun, Moon, or Rising. And so you've got the shadow of corruption in your second house, and this is money, 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 money. Right? So this is corruption around how you earn money, right? So this is looking away. Your soul and your heart are telling you that this job, it's not aligned with my values, right? This is the house of self-value. But I'm listening to the shadow of corruption, which is the ego saying, well, you got to pay the rent. How are you going to pay the bills? The money's so good, right? And they're putting money in my health plan, and I got dentist, and I have this and that. I've got all this security, but it's not real, Libra. That's not real security. Real security is when you're with your soul, right? This does not come free. When you chase money and power from the shadow of corruption, it comes with a cost, and it's like eroding, it's decaying your soul, basically, right? Your relationship with your soul. So you want to dig that out. How am I earning money? How am I earning my money? Look at it in truth, right? Look at it in truth. And there's going to be value, right? You'll be exploring that, my own self-value. Yeah. Because the ego can say, well, there's nothing else out there for you, You better stick with what you got here. Yeah, right? Can you be bought? That's the other story. Can I be bought? Right? Can I just give all that away, all my values and my soul, which is priceless, for a paycheck every 2 weeks, right? You want to look at that. Look at it in truth. And you're going to see it with this new nodal axis, right? You're going to see it. You're going to see the self node. So you want to transcend this, let it go, let the corruption go, and then you want to move into the 3. That's innovation and innocence, and that's moving into your 8th house, right? So this is like facing your fear of relationships. I know Libra's a relationship sign already, but this is real relationship. This is merging with other people. It's trusting other people, right? You want to be a child again here, laughing, playful, exploring, right? It's letting people value you, right? It's about receiving, learning to receive again, Libra, right? Support and help from others. Surrendering, right? Because this comes with control too, doesn't it? With the 2nd house, well, I'm in the shadow of corruption. Well, I just do this and this and this, and I don't have to depend on anybody, right? And the nodal axis is saying like, no, you want to be innocent again. Innocent in the lap of God, and let the divine bring these people to me to help support me. That's the 8th house, other people that support you. Let the divine invest in me, right? Invest in me. Be innocent. Don't compromise my values in the face of chaos. Chaos that comes like, I don't know, God, like speak to the divine. I don't know, divine, this job, it's the way I earn my money. I'm not feeling good about it. I feel like I'm out of integrity. I'm scared. Like, be honest with the divine. I'm scared. I don't know how I'm going to pay my rent. I don't know how I'm going to pay my bills. But I'm going to trust. I'm going to leave this situation of corruption, right? And I'm going to move. I'm going to step forward, right? And then the support will come. There'll be chaos and disorder, but I'm going to trust and I'm going to have faith, right? Like I said before, there's no guarantees, Libras, right? You got to make the leap of faith. The net's you're not going to see the net, the safety net, not until you jump off the cliff. And then when you're hurling down, right, then there's the net, right? There's the path appears. Okay. The other thing is corruption is settling for less than you're worth, too. So to look at that, am I really valued in this place that I'm earning my money from? Am I valued? Right? I'm accepting less than I'm worth. Things to ask yourself. Can I be bought? Do I have a price? Do I have a price on my head where anybody could buy me? Right? Look at those hard questions. Yeah. And then embrace this 8th house. Okay. Let's go for Scorpio. Sun, Moon, or Rising. And Scorpio has the shadow of corruption in their 1st house. So they're the embodiment. They're playing the role. They're only playing a role, Scorpio. But you're the embodiment of corruption. So you're the one that's showing corruption. That's what this is saying, right? So this is attachment, right? Corruption is like an attack. It can be an attachment just because it's in your 1st house to your self-image, right? To your self-image, how you appear to others. Scorpio, it's narcissism. It's an overly attachment to your appearance and your physical body is corrupt. You want to look at this corruption, and so where the and this is learned. This is conditioning. Maybe you learned this. We learned this from our society. Our values are totally upside down with TikTok and Instagram and all that stuff, right? You may have learned some really bad beliefs from this ego, right? Of this is how I have to be, right? I got to be chasing money and power. I have to have power over my relationships because it's the 3 and the 7th house, Scorpio. So that's where you're headed towards. You're being called to be innocent again, right? Playful, exploring, right? In terms of your relationship dynamic, right? Of your relationship dynamic. So this is trusting the people that show you this, because it's 7th house, right? It's your relationship house. So people that are innocent, right, that are innocent, that are going to be coming into your life with the seventh house, is to trust that, right? Is to trust this. This is the new way for you to be relating to others and others to be relating to you, you know? Not to fall into the shadow of corruption. Because Scorpio, the archetype of Scorpio is all about power, right? I need power over this relationship. There's no power here when two people join in this innocence, right? Into this innocence where they're trusting, they have 100% faith in the divine. The divine has brought us together. There's no power struggle, right? So for you, it's about letting go of the power struggle that's going on in your own head, Scorpio. There's no power struggle going on in the external. That's just a reflection of what's going on in you. And it's like the let go of this ego. It's the ego in your soul battling it out inside Scorpio, the ancient battle. So to let go of that corrupt ego, right? That's telling you this is how you show up. You act cool, like you don't care. I don't care about that person. I'm not going to tell them I love them, right? Let them tell me first. Like just little games like that. Or how can I get something over this person, right? How can I show myself, show my ego that I've got power over this other person? It's a whole new way for you, Scorpio, right? To show up not in the shadow of corruption. Because it's the fear, chaos, disorder in your relationship. This is the fear of losing control, right? Of losing control when things get chaotic, right? And disorder. And remember with new, Scorpio, new relationships coming that are more aligned with the divine and who you really are, it's going to bring chaos. Chaotic thinking, chaotic emotions of like, I fear being vulnerable, chaotic thoughts like that person is projecting your own shadow of corruption onto them, right? That they're corrupt, they're trying to get one over me, they want power over me. You want to let all that go. That's what this is saying. Walk away. It's burning, right? Corruption is like it's a burning house. You want to walk away from it and then embrace this new way of relating to others, right? Yeah. And not compromise. Yeah. Not compromise your values, right? Of seeing the innocence in the other. Okay. So again, just a reminder, Scorpio, and integrity is when the internal and the external match, right? So it's just being honest with people. Yeah. Okay, that's Scorpio. And then let's go for Sagittarius. Sagittarius, sun, moon, or rising. So you got the shadow of corruption. This is the new nodal story for you. The new karmic axis is moving for you, Sagittarius. And it's corruption in the 12th house, which is a really good house to have that in, actually. Is the 12th house is like you're finishing up a cycle. The 12th house is the ego's dissolving. So this corrupt ego is dissolving. Maybe this corrupt ego has been with you, Sagittarius, for lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. This is deep things, deep content coming up from your unconscious mind, right? So this is dealing with corrupt people, or or you were corrupt in your past lives, where you compromised your values, right? Where you chased money and power, right? So letting that, this is coming up to dissolve, Sagittarius, right? One of these ego identities. The Aquarian age consciousness is moving through your 12th house, and this is going to dissolve. So it's going to bring up emotions, right? Some deep emotions to be felt. Maybe shame or guilt or anger or fear, right? Whatever is coming up. You don't need to create a story about it. Just feel it, Sagittarius. Right? This is good news in the 12th house. Good news. So this could be a dark night of the soul. That's the test. When that one of those ego identities starts to dissolve, it comes with the dark night of the soul. And the dark night of the soul is about the trust. I'm going to choose the divine. I'm going to choose the light, right? I'm not going to, because it's like you're in the dark night of the soul is like you and the ego are together in a room, in a dark room. You can't see any light. So you got to reach, right? I'm choosing the light. I'm having 100% faith in the divine, even though I can't feel it right now. I feel disconnected from the divine. I can't feel it. I can't sense it. I can't see it. But I'm not choosing you, right? Because this is corrupt. It's just going to lead you through a whole other cycle of corruption, right? So corruption around divinity, right? Because it's the 12th house. So letting that go. Maybe you followed some corrupt spiritual teachers in the past. Maybe you're a corrupt spiritual teacher yourself, right? You're letting that go, letting that dissolve. So that's just going to do its thing. You don't need to focus on it because you're walking away from that, right? What are you walking towards? Is service. The number 3, innovation, innocence in the 6th house, your work. So not being isolated. The shadow of corruption wants you isolated, wants you away from people. Well, I feel so guilty. You may not even know this. I feel so guilty and racked with guilt and shame that I was so corrupt in my past lives. You may not even know that, but it's the behavior is like I'm going to isolate myself. That's what the ego is telling you. I'm going to stay away from people. Well, the nodal axis is saying move away from this, right? That's not where you're to go. You're to let this go now. You've done this, right? This corruption. Now it's time to walk towards innovation and innocence in your service, right? It's the 6th house of service. I'm going to serve people with my innocence, I'm letting go of all this guilt and shame, right? For my 12th house. I'm going to be a child again. Laughing and playful, exploring and experimenting. I'll be the child of God again, right? And this in turn, with your work and in service and getting connected with other people in the day-to-day, is to bring this new attitude. So yes, there'll be chaos. Maybe chaos in terms of the emotions that are coming up. It's like, oh my God, where is this coming from? You don't need to understand it. You just feel it. Right? Because what's happening is the ego identity is dissolving as this new Aquarian age consciousness comes through for you. But as it's dissolving and crashing, the ego identity is like releasing all these stuck emotions, right, from your past life. That's all you need. That's the content. And all you need to do is feel it. So just remember that to hold steady as this process happens, and then just move into this. And so as soon as you bring in this new attitude in terms of your service and how you help people, and it could be even in your workplace, it's not like you're rocking babies at the hospital, right? Whatever you do, your service. You can be of service even in a workplace, even though you're getting paid to do like these tasks, you can still bring that attitude of service, Sagittarius, right? So that's innovative and innocent. It's going to bring innovation in how you serve people, but it's going to be fun. It's not going to be this heavy shadow corruption. It's like, I got to pay off all this guilt. You know, I have to suffer. It's the 12th house. I got to suffer. I got to be the martyr. I got to sacrifice myself and sacrifice my joy and fun, right? It's got to be horrible. It's like, no, it doesn't have to be that way. You're walking away from that burning building and you're moving into this fun, right? And playful and laughing. Being the child, being the divine child again. This is the reboot for you, Sagittarius. You're getting rebooted, right? What you do with a computer, you totally reformat it when it's corrupted, right? It's like start from the very beginning. That's you. That's what's happening with that ego getting dissolved in the 12th house. Very karmic, right? But there's the way through. And this sounds like fun to me, right? So the only thing to be aware of is just the chaos. This too shall pass. That's your mantra. This too shall pass. Okay. Anything else for Sagittarius? Okay. Okay. That's good news. Okay, let's go for the Capricorn. Capricorn is in the 11th house, okay, of corruption. So Capricorn's been doing a lot of work around their friendships, right? And their network of people. Masks coming off, right? Able to see people's true intent in terms of their friendship. Because Capricorn's like people of status, you know? That person they've got a little bit of fame, or they got some money, they drive a nice car or something. It's almost like they collect. That's what I see in my life. It's almost like they collect people, you know? But now they're seeing deeper into like, oh, this corruption, right? Maybe seeing some of their friends as corrupt, not living to their values, saying one thing, meaning another, chasing money and power. See, this is about you unlocking that. Do I choose friends because of their title? Do I choose friends because of their bank account or the power they have in their life, right? So digging that out, Capricorn, right? And believing, like in terms of corruption in the 11th house, is like, well, if I'm near this powerful person, that means that I'm powerful too. That's how the ego thinks. My friends are an extension of me. So you just want to let this go. And it will be shown to you. That's the beauty of the age of Aquarius and the cross of the sleeping phoenix. All these things that are corrupt, that are based in fear, right? That are based in ego, basically ego. They're all going to be seen, Capricorn. So what is it telling you to do here? Is to move into the 5th house, right? To the 5th house. And that's all about you, right? What do I want, right? What gives me joy? What really gives me joy? It's taking your focus off the corrupt friends, right? And then moving it into your 5th house, right? Which is about you. It's about self-love, right? It's about self-love. And then it's going to be, so it's walking away from these friends, right? That you maybe it's not all of them, but it's friends, at least one friend has the shadow of corruption. And to just see it in truth and walk away. So it's about not focusing on the self node of corruption, right? And then it's like, what do I enjoy? What kind of people do I enjoy? Well, it's going to be people that are childlike, that are innocent, that are laughing, they're playful. Maybe they don't got a lot of money in their bank account, right? But they have these qualities. They have these qualities. And this is what really feeds you, feeds your soul, because it allows you to be a child again too. Capricorns can be very, very serious, right? Capricorn, sun, moon, or rising. They're born old. I always joke that they're born with gray hair, right? Capricorn babies. So it's having fun again because it's the 5th house. Being creative, right? Being creative, not so focused on, right? It's like your whole values are changing because it's Taurus, about what you value in your friendships. But you need to go to that 5th house. You need to get personal with yourself, right? And to determine, right, what gives you joy, what gives you true pleasure. And it's not these corrupt friends. Yeah. And just look at what they're talking about. You'll see this shadow of corruption. Are they talking about all these things that they've accumulated, right? Are they, it's hierarchy, corruption? Are they putting you on a hierarchy? I'm better than you because I own all this property, or I have all these toys and all this money, right? To look at that. That's not a true friendship, right? You're with ego and ego. Egos can never be friends, right? Egos can never be friends because the ego is all about using people. So how the ego sees people is how the ego sees people. That person is either a threat to me, a competition to me, they're a threat, a block, an obstacle, or they're an ally. They can help me get to where I want to go. That's not friendship, right? That's usury. So this is what you're letting go of, the shadow of corruption in your 11th house with your friends. Who's using me, right? Who's using me in my life? Who makes me feel less than? That's what the ego likes. It's like, I need you to feel less than me so I can feel better. So sometimes egos will have friends like that. They've got real no respect for other people. But, oh, this person makes me feel good because I'm so much better than them. So I'm going to have them hang around me, right? So you just want to, these are the dirty things, right, that have to be uncovered. So the masks will come off with your friends. Maybe you've started already, but it's really going to start with this, right? With this shadow of corruption. So there can be chaos and with the friends as you untangle from this group of friends or friend as you move into this. And it's like, I'm going to be laughing. I'm going to be playful. Your corrupt friends will not want to see you happy. That's another sign, right? They won't want to see you playful, right? Exploring and experimenting, right? Jumping out of your box, Capricorn. And, and committing to not compromise your values. But first, you got to find out what your true values are, right? And also hanging around with children will really help, Capricorn. Unleash this new innocence within you. Okay, that's what we got for Capricorn. Yeah, okay. And let's go for Aquarius, Sun, Moon, or Rising. And Aquarius is in the 10th, right? 12, 11, 10. So you got the shadow of corruption that you're leaving behind, Aquarius. And that's your 10th house, right? So this could be a boss or a supervisor. It could be your own father, too. Could be your vocation, right? Maybe where you're working, your vocation, you're seeing the shadow of corruption, right? Well, you've got to say, this is the policy, right? In these workplaces, this is our policy. And it may go against everything that you know to be right and true, right? I don't want to give any specific scenarios, but, it goes against. But here's the policy of our corporation or our organization, right? So you need to be the spokesperson for this, right? So you need to go out there in the media and then spew these lies that they're lies, right? Because you want to hold your position, right? You want to be in this social status, right? I've worked so hard to get to this place. I got the corner office or whatever it is, right? But you're doing this. This is the shadow of corruption. And like I said in the other sign, you don't get away with anything, right? And it's not the worst thing about the media finding out that you're corrupt, right? Aquarius, it's your own subconscious mind that will haunt you, right? That you're going against. You're betraying your soul, basically, and what you know to be right and true. So that would be an example. And also seeing this in others, right? Wherever you're working, right? Seeing this in others and maybe judging, but staying because I like the status. I like my reputation and people bow to me and, right? People respect me or whatever. There could be an addiction to that. So you want to dig this out, Aquarius. What's that ego telling you? Right? What's it telling you about compromising your values? Right? What's it telling you? Around 10th house matters. Yeah. So what's it telling you to move to? Is your 4th house. To innovation and innocence and to be a child again. To be a child again. With your emotions. Right? Letting go of the duty and the responsibility and because a lot of these institutions, especially if you're connected to one of these institutions, Aquarius, this is going down, right? All these institutions are going down. So if you're actually working in one of these, because this is 10th house right here, all this stuff. If you're in that position and you're seeing corruption, that's a big sign to jump. It's time to jump because that Titanic's going down. It's prophecy. You can't stop it. And moving into more, into big G, divine, trusting the divine, right? This is when you're the divine child again, laughing, playful. Maybe you remember this time, Aquarius, in your life when you were a child again, where you're completely trusting and everything just unfolded, right? You weren't unentangled with this crazy energy, the shadow of corruption. So it's getting, to me, it's like getting out of the head, getting out of the ego, and really going deep within your own emotional self to determine what's correct for you, what's real in alignment with you. But from this place of I'm the divine child and I will be taken care of, and if that means a career change for me, then so be it. But it's going to be more aligned with me, who I am, and what I'm here to deliver to the world, right? Because it's the sole purpose. Yeah. And letting go of your so-called achievements or whatever. If they're real achievements, then you can't, if they're part of your experience, then you can't lose them, right? It's letting go of what other people think of you, the public. Yeah. And I've heard of this with people. They leave these corporate jobs where they climb to the top, thinking they'd be happy because they listen to that ego. Will climb to the top and you'll be happy, you'll be at peace. And then they got there and they said it was horrible. I felt like I was a prisoner, right? I was so unhappy. And there I am, I'm buying all this stuff to fill this hole because I feel so unhappy. And that's even more of a trap because I got into debt and then my lifestyle is so up there, right? Financially, I've got to keep up with this. When in fact, all I wanted was to feel peaceful and happy. Well, you're not going to get it through the ego. You'll only get it through the soul when you're connected with your higher self. And then they take a job with a lot less responsibility, right? A lot less responsibility where they get to spend time with their family and, right, and get in touch with what's really important to them. They make, like this guy, 1/4 of what he used to make, but he said that's plenty for me, right? I've just simplified my life. So keep that in mind, Aquarius. What you're going through, it's about getting connected to home, right? Family, your own emotional self, right? What's important to you, and letting go of this corruption, shadow of corruption in your 10th house. Okay? And this is humbling, right? It's humbling for the ego. And that's really positive to get off this social ladder climbing thing. Okay. So let's go for Pisces. And Pisces is in the 9th house, right? 12, 11, 10, 9. So the shadow of corruption that you're leaving behind, Pisces, Sun, Moon, or Rising, is in your 9th house, the shadow of corruption. So this is South Node. You're leaving that behind and you're moving into the North Node, which is, innovation and innocence. And that's in your 3rd house. So this is corruption around, it could be a spiritual teacher or spiritual teaching that you're following. You may be finding that there's corruption in there, right? As you dig deeper into the path, it's like, oh, this does not sit true for me. This isn't aligned with truth for me. And this is the danger of following a spiritual teacher, Pisces, is you've got to be vigilant, right? You can't go unconscious, because we can even do that. Go unconscious. It's like you're continually, this is self-reliance, right? This 2027, the cross of the sleeping phoenix awakening, it's about being self-sovereign. That means not giving your power over, right? Don't give your power over. Right? To a spiritual teaching completely, right? Don't give your power over. Yes, you can trust, and maybe you do trust, and I trust, and I trust. But still, you have to trust the self. Like all spiritual teachings, if they're in truth, they're just pointing you back to yourself. Any good spiritual teacher is always pointing you back to yourself, right? Back to the higher self. We all have it, each one of us, right? Pointing you back there. So you want to make sure that that's happening. Also, corruption could be like you. Well, I'm on this path, and I think everybody should be on this path too. And my way is the only way. There's only one path up the mountain. We see this with religions, right? My God is the only God. My way is the only way. And everything else is corrupt, right? So you want to dig this out too, because there's many paths up the mountain. Many, many paths up the mountain, right? So you want to dig that out. And also, there could be some corruption around how you see the world, Pisces, right? So what are your belief systems? What are your belief systems? That's the ninth house. Am I seeing everything pessimistically? Am I seeing things like it's over-optimistic? I'm not seeing things as in truth, right? This is the shadow of corruption. I don't trust life. I see all this corruption outside of me, and I've identified with it. The ego is identified with this corruption, right? This can actually go at a deep level where the ego actually tricks us into identifying with what we see. Instead of this, right, this relationship, I'm not my mind, right? I'm perceiving the world, right? Neutrally, without needing to add anything to it. Right? Needing to interpret things, not listening to the ego that needs to interpret everything. I'm like the holy witness, right, of the world. Not letting that ego sneak in there and say, right, look at these horrible things that are happening and you're horrible too, right? This can be, you may not even be aware of this dynamic, but it could be going deep within you. Because Pisces, they don't have the boundaries, right, as an archetype. Right? The boundaries need to be strengthened. And this is what that new moon was about, is discernment. I'm discerning. This is not me. This is me. Not me. This is me. Right? So there can be some corruption here to dig out with how you see the world. So look at yourself. Like, how do I see the world? Right? Do I see it as money, power grabbing, lesser than people out in the world, right? They're ruling the world. The Illuminati, shadow corruptions like the Illuminati, the secret societies, they've got all the power, right? It's too big. I'm too little. I'm overwhelmed by the corrupt systems. I feel victimized, Pisces, right? I feel like a victim of all this. There's nothing I can do. This is you listening to that ego. So you want to leave all that behind of how you're seeing the world and your belief systems about the world, your belief systems about spirituality, right? And you want to move into this right here, and this is the third house, right? So this is the gift of innovation and innocence. This is your thinking. So being like a child again in your thinking, playful, laughing, fun, having fun in the way that you speak and communicate with others. These are the people that you see day to day, right? And trusting 100% in the unity of all things. So the discernment, is my ego channeling this shadow of corruption, how horrible the world is, or am I listening to this? Right? This way of thinking, right? This is hierarchy, right? There's a system and I'm at the bottom of the ladder. There's no hierarchy here, right? With innovation and innocence. And the great thing, here's a good mantra for you, Pisces, for the third house, is this is I know. The shadow of corruption is I know everything. I know what's going on, right? I know what's going on. It completely limits you, right? It limits your thinking, it limits your perception. As soon as you're in the ego, you're in limitation. Well, with the thinking, it's like a good mantra for you, Pisces, is I don't know. I don't know anything. I don't know. I know that I don't know. And then this innocence can come through in terms of your thinking. This is when the innovation comes through. The creativity, that divine energy can work through the mind, right? Then you have this innovation. So remember that there's chaos. There'll be chaos, and the chaos is going to come through the mind, right? It's going to come through the mind. So hold steady. This is part of the process of you rebirthing, like resetting your mind. It's like a reset for your mind, Pisces. Okay. So I know that I don't know. That's your mantra. Okay. And then we're going to finish it off with Aries. Aries, all the way at the bottom there. Aries. There we go. So Aries, Sun, Moon, or Rising. The shadow of corruption is taking place in your 8th house. In your 8th house. So this is what you're leaving behind. This new storyline that you're leaving behind. So you're leaving behind, but you have to transcend it. So this is corruption with, could be a marriage partner, right? People that are invested in you. It's like other people's money. Could be the government too, right? The 8th house could also be the government. Some kind of people wanting power over you, right? That you're involved with. It's like I'm sharing something. It could be a business partner or marriage partner, a roommate even, right? Somebody that you're sharing resources with, a landlord even too, right? Is that you're looking at the corruption, right? So it's 8th house, so it's like I'm seeing the corruption, right? I'm seeing the corruption in the government. Aries is going to see that. I'm seeing the corruption in these people. And it's going to be around money because it's the 8th house, right? It's listening to this ego because it's, I'm involved with this corrupt system, right? It's too big, I'm too little, I'm just part of it. So the ego will just go along the get along. Everybody else is doing it. Everybody else is invested in, buying stocks and military weapons and things like that. Everybody else is making a killing. Why not me, right? Well, you've got to look at, so look at investments, right? Maybe Aries has some investments. Is this aligned with my values, right? Don't look away. Is this aligned with my true values? How does my heart feel to know this, that I'm making money off other people's suffering? Like, just because everybody else is doing it doesn't mean it's right, right? So go in deep within, right? To dig up this corruption. Maybe there's some corruption in your marriage partner. There's some corruption there where the truths aren't being told, right? Maybe they're chasing money and power and you're seeing this new side of them, right? Especially during all the fear is going to come up. Everybody's masks are coming off for this new age because we're all being pressured. Remember, Aries, we're all being pressured to let go of these ego identities. And with the ego identity comes with a lot of emotions and mostly fear. As this Aquarian age consciousness comes crumbling, comes really fully in on the planet, the egos can't stay, right? They've got to dissolve, right? They have to dissolve. So there could be some chaos in the 8th house. And this is about other people's money. Maybe you want to get a divorce, right? 8th house is like endings. It's like an ending, and it's going to create chaos around like sorting out how are we going to separate our resources, Who gets the car, who gets the house, that kind of thing. It's just the trust that the chaos precedes all new beginnings. It's just part of the process, but you're going to be innocent. Remember, Aries, I said what's happening now is there's a sleeping giant that's awakening within us. It's the liberation of our soul. That's the cross of the sleeping phoenix, right? Coming in 2027, this new 400-year cycle. Well, it's going to awaken that giant inside of us, right? And then there's chaos around us because everything that's not aligned in truth with our authentic self has to be recreated, right? This is going, that goes, that goes, that goes, this goes, this goes, that goes. Don't get attached to what's going and what's dissolving, right? It's just trusting that the new will emerge, right? Out of the ashes, right? The phoenix, right? So to trust that with 8 health people, right? It's 8 health people. So what are you doing? You're leaving this behind. I'm walking away from this. This is not aligned with my values. It's not, my heart is telling me no. I'm walking away from this now, right? And I'm walking towards this into my second house, right? So this is money. I'm going to be like a child again. I don't need to rely on these people that are corrupt. I'm getting this dirty money from them, right? Comes with a big rope attached to it. I'm letting that go. And I'm going to be the divine child again, laughing, playful, exploring, experimenting of how I earn money. This is about self-reliance, right? This new cross of the sleeping phoenix. It's about being self-reliant, self-sovereign, right? Not being a prostitute. That's really what this is. I mean, the archetype of the prostitute, right, is this corruption, right? Just completely betraying your soul for money, from other people's money. Too codependent on these people. What else do I want to say about that for Aries? Yeah. In valuing yourself, you know? The 8th house is about how other people value you, right? Other people say, this is what you're worth to me, right? Maybe you're getting a divorce or a separation. Well, this is what you were worth to me. I'll throw some shekels at you, right? Second house, don't listen to that. Don't let other people define your value. Second house is knowing without a doubt the value you hold because you exist. You're bringing your divinity. You're bringing your whole higher self forward in your life. That's invaluable. That's priceless, you know? So walk in this. Walk in innocence. Right? Walk in innocence. Walk away from the burning flames of this house of the 8th house that's burning away. Right? You're being released. You're being liberated from this karmic house here. But it's going to bring a lot of self-worth stuff up for you. Right? Anything else for Aries? That's all we got here. Okay. Okay. Okay, everybody. That's what I got here. And I hope you're all doing well. What else do I want to say? I think that's everything. I've done my announcement. So make sure that you press like and comment too. I love to read your comments. You'll notice I respond to comments right on my YouTube channel. And I'll see you in the next video. So take good care, okay? And trust, 100% faith and trust in the divine. That's my mantra for you. Okay? Satnam Aloha, everybody. Bye-bye.